The rain had not ceased since dawn, a relentless percussion against the ancient Venetian rooftops, and the aqua altar was swelling with a merciless appetite. Elena Rossi stood in the dim light of her cramped apartment, listening to the water lap against the wooden beams just beneath her window. Outside, the city was slowly succumbing once again to the rising tide, the familiar but haunting rhythm of Venice's annual flood weaving itself into the fabric of her thoughts. Yet it was not just the water's advance that weighed heavy on her heart today. It was the betrayal that had seeped into her life like a silent poison. Earlier that evening, beneath the shadowed arches of a narrow canal, Elena had confronted Luca Bellini. The gondolier whose weathered face had once been a beacon of loyalty and pragmatism amidst the city's labyrinthine mysteries, now stood before her with eyes clouded by regret and fear. His confession had shattered the fragile trust they had built over the past weeks. A secret passed to Marco Vianney to protect his own family and preserve the delicate balance of power that governed Venetian society. The revelation cut through Elena like the cold water that had seeped beneath her boots, leaving her stunned and vulnerable. "Why, Luca?" After everything we've faced together, Elena whispered, her voice trembling as the waters stirred beneath them. Luca averted his gaze, the flicker of guilt unmistakable. "I never wanted to hurt you, Elena, but some tides are too strong to fight against. Marco, he promised he would keep the city safe. I believed him. I still do." The betrayal was a profound rupture, echoing the historic treacheries Elena had uncovered in the submerged archives. It was as if the city's very soul was mirrored in the fractured loyalties of its inhabitants. As she walked away from Luca, the flooded alley swallowed her footsteps, the water cold and unforgiving, a physical embodiment of the isolation that now enveloped her. Back in her apartment, the dim glow of a solitary lamp cast long shadows on the peeling walls, and Elena sank into a worn chair. The manuscripts and documents she had painstakingly preserved lay scattered across the table, fragile whispers from a forgotten past. Yet tonight, their fragile truths felt heavier, burdened by the immediate dangers pressing in from all sides. The floodwaters pressed against the city as relentlessly as the invisible forces seeking to silence her. She felt the weight of history and betrayal converge, a crushing pressure that threatened to drown both her resolve and her hope. Suddenly, a faint knock echoed through the quiet room. Elena's head snapped up, alert despite the exhaustion. Opening the door revealed Isabella Moretti, her elegant figure framed by the stormy night. The noblewoman's cold gaze held a mixture of calculation and something less decipherable, perhaps fear or an unspoken warning. "Elena," Isabella began, her voice smooth yet edged with urgency, "you must understand that the truths you seek come with a price. Venice cannot afford to lose its delicate balance." Elena regarded her warily, the lines between friend and foe blurring ever more. "And what do you want, Isabella?" "To offer a truce of sorts," Isabella replied, stepping inside as the rain intensified outside. "Our city's survival depends on navigating these treacherous waters together, however uneasy that alliance might be." The proposition hung in the damp air, complicated by the knowledge that Isabella's ambitions were as deep and murky as the canals themselves. Yet Elena knew she could not face the rising tide alone. The floodwaters outside surged higher, inundating the streets and alleys with a cold, inexorable force. Later, standing at the edge of a swollen canal, Elena watched as the water reflected the flickering lamplights and the encroaching shadows. The city was a mosaic of beauty and decay, history and betrayal, all submerged beneath the relentless tide. The flood was both a symbol and a reality, a force that could cleanse as much as it could destroy. Her heart heavy but her mind sharpened by loss, Elena whispered to the night, "I will uncover the truth, no matter the cost." The waters surged, and with them, the weight of betrayal pressed down. But Elena stood resolute, a solitary figure against the rising storm, ready to face the unknown depths that awaited beneath Venice's surface. The night deepened, and the city held its breath, caught between the past's shadows and the uncertain dawn to come. And somewhere hidden beneath the waves and secrets, the next chapter of Venice's story was waiting to be revealed. The candle's flame flickered, casting elongated shadows across the brittle parchment sprawled before Elena Rossi. The archival room, tucked away within the labyrinthine corridors of the Venice State Library, was steeped in silence save for the occasional rustle of turning pages and the distant patter of rain against stained glass. The scent of musty paper, tinged with a faint trace of salt from the ever-present aqua alta, filled the air, a sensory tether to centuries long past. Elena's fingers, gloved for preservation but steady with purpose, traced the delicate script on the manuscript she had uncovered only days before. The faded ink whispered secrets of a Venice that thrived not only on commerce and art but on shadows and silent bargains. Her analytical mind parsed the archaic Venetian dialect, piecing together fragments of correspondence, decrees, and personal journals that chronicled the city's Renaissance era, not merely a time of grandeur, but one rife with subterfuge and betrayal. Her breath caught when she read a letter penned by a nobleman whose name resonated with the families still powerful today. It spoke of alliance forged in darkness, of promises broken beneath the grandeur of frescoed ceilings and masked balls. The conspiracy she had sensed now unfolded with vivid clarity. A cabal of elite families had manipulated Venice's fate, orchestrating events to secure dominion over trade routes and political offices. The weight of centuries pressed down on her as she realized the depth of their deception, the meticulous weaving of lies that had shaped the city's destiny. A sudden knock at the library's heavy door startled her. It was Giulia Conti, the archivist, her eyes sharp behind thin spectacles. "Elena, you should see this," she said, producing a small bundle of parchments retrieved from a forgotten chest submerged beneath an old canal house. The documents were water-damaged yet legible, revealing a secret ledger that detailed illicit transactions and coded references to meetings held in the shadow of the Rialto. Together, they worked late into the night, the flickering candlelight their sole companion. Each discovery deepened the mystery names that re-emerged in modern times, their descendants still occupying positions of influence. Elena's heart thudded with a mixture of awe and dread. The past was not dead, it was alive beneath the surface, threatening to engulf the present. Her thoughts drifted to Luca Bellini, the gondolier who had become her steadfast ally. His knowledge of Venice's hidden waterways and forgotten passages had been invaluable. She found herself yearning for his grounded pragmatism amidst the storm of her revelations. They met later that evening in a cramped corner of a flooded palazzo, the water seeping through ancient stones, lapping softly at their boots. "The more you uncover," Luca murmured, "the more dangerous it becomes. These families, they don't want to be exposed." Elena nodded, her eyes reflecting the flickering lantern light. "But if we don't bring this to light, the city remains captive to their shadows." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Father Angelo, an enigmatic figure whose spiritual guidance and knowledge of Venice's history had offered Elena moments of clarity. In the vaulted sanctuary of San Giorgio Maggiore, the echoes of his voice blended with the tolling bells and the gentle drip of water through centuries-old stone. "History," he intoned solemnly, "is not merely what is recorded but what is concealed. To confront the past is to embrace both its beauty and its darkness. You carry a heavy burden, Elena. Remember, some truths are like the water that surrounds us, persistent, shifting, and sometimes drowning those who seek to grasp them." His words resonated deeply as Elena returned to her study, determination hardening within her. The archives were more than relics. They were keys to unraveling a tapestry of deceit woven through generations. Yet, with each revelation, the stakes climbed higher. Marco Vianney's shadow loomed ever larger, his calculated moves a reminder that the past's ghosts were not content to rest. Elena's mind raced with strategies to protect the archive and those who aided her. Trust was a scarce commodity in Venice's flooded streets and marble halls. She resolved to tread carefully, choosing her confidence with care as the waters of betrayal rose around her. Night deepened outside, and the city's ancient stones seemed to whisper secrets through the mist. Elena closed the fragile manuscripts, her gaze fixed on the flickering flame, a symbol of hope against the encroaching darkness. The history of shadows was no longer distant, it was her present, and the future of Venice depended on the choices she would make in the days to come. As she extinguished the candle, the last tendrils of light danced upon the water-stained walls, mirroring the turbulent currents that ran beneath Venice's serene surface. The past was awakening, and with it, the echoes of betrayal threatened to surge forth once more. Elena's journey was far from over. The shadows of history awaited, and she must confront them or be consumed in their depths. The city held its breath, and so did she. The city of Venice awoke slowly beneath a veil of mist. The early morning light diffused through the damp air that clung to every brick and canal. Elena Rossi sat quietly in the bow of a small boat, the gondolier's rhythmic oar strokes stirring the water with soft, hypnotic pulses. Around her, the labyrinthine canals stretched like veins through the ancient city, the buildings rising steep and silent from the water's edge, their worn facades whispering stories of centuries past. This morning was different. The aqua alta had crept higher than usual, swallowing the narrow streets and turning piazzas into lakes. The water lapped hungrily at the base of palazzi, reflecting shattered shards of dawn in ripples that danced like secrets just beneath the surface. Venice was alive, but it was a city drowning in its own history, a blend of breathtaking beauty and concealed corruption. Elena's mind raced as she absorbed the scene. Every corner of the city seemed to hold another fragment of the submerged archive she had painstakingly unearthed. Each fragile manuscript she had preserved whispered of betrayals, manipulations, and alliances that stretched from the Renaissance to the present day. The water was not merely a physical presence here. It was a symbol, a mirror of the hidden depths beneath the city's glittering veneer. As the gondola glided silently beneath a stone archway, Elena saw Luca Bellini waiting on a small wooden dock. His weathered face was drawn tight with concern, the lines etched by years of sun and salt water seeming sharper in the gray light. He greeted her with a nod, but said nothing until they were settled on a bench beside a flooded alley. "Elena," Luca began quietly, "this city is a living thing. It breathes beneath the water, and it protects its own. But the families who hold power, they will do anything to keep their secrets buried." Elena looked into his eyes, seeing the tension there between loyalty to Venice's people and fear of the powerful forces she was challenging. "I understand," she replied, "but if we don't bring these truths to light, how can the city ever heal?" He sighed, the sound lost in the stillness. "Sometimes the price of truth is too high." Their conversation hung in the air like the thick fog around them, a reminder that every step Elena took deeper into the mystery was fraught with danger. Later, Elena found herself at an opulent palazzo perched above the Grand Canal. The grandeur of the ballroom was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like captured stars, gilded mirrors reflected the swirl of silks and jewels, and the scent of expensive perfume mingled with the faintest hint of dampness from the flooding outside. Guests moved with practiced grace, their smiles polite but eyes sharp and calculating. Isabella Moretti stood at the center of the gathering, a vision of elegance and control. Her cold gaze swept the room, masking the ambitions and fears that lay beneath. Elena watched closely, aware that every word and gesture here was a piece on a complicated chessboard. "Venice has always been a city of masks," Isabella said softly when Elena approached. "Not all are worn on the face. Some hide the truth in plain sight." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of those words settle over her like the damp air. Here, in the heart of power, history's shadows were alive and watching. As evening fell, Elena escaped to a crumbling stone bridge, the rain beginning to fall in thin, cold sheets. She stood alone, the city's lights shimmering in the water below, distorted and fragile. From the mist, a figure emerged, Marco Viani, his tall frame silhouetted against the fog. "You can't undo what was done," he said quietly, his voice carrying the authority of centuries. "Some secrets are safer beneath the waves." Elena met his gaze, unflinching despite the chill that ran through her. "But the truth will surface, Marco. Like the water, it cannot be held back forever." He turned away, dissolving into the night, leaving Elena with the heavy realization that the battle for Venice's soul was far from over. As the rain intensified, Elena felt the city pulse around her, the silent canals, the whispered histories, and the endless dance of light and shadow. Venice was a city drowned in secrets, its beauty inseparable from the darkness beneath, and she was caught in the tide, determined to see the truth rise. The night deepened, and with it, the questions that would shape her journey. How much could she reveal without destroying the delicate balance of this city she had come to love? And in the end, would the water wash away the past, or would it carry the secrets forward, forever hidden beneath the surface? Elena pulled her coat tighter against the damp chill, her eyes scanning the horizon where the city's lights blurred into the mist. The rain had not ceased since dawn, its persistent drumming on the ancient stone and shuttered windows of the Palazzo dell'Archivio creating a constant, insistent rhythm. Elena Rossi sat cross-legged on the damp floor of a forgotten chamber deep beneath Venice, the flicker of a lone lantern casting trembling shadows across the fragile manuscripts spread before her. Each parchment was a delicate fragment of history, water-stained, faded, yet imbued with the power to rewrite the story of the city itself. Her fingers moved cautiously, tracing the elegant script of a letter penned centuries ago. It was a confession, veiled in cryptic language but unmistakable in its implications. Betrayal at the heart of Venice's ruling families. Conspiracies that had steered the fate of the city through deceit and bloodshed. Elena's breath caught as the pieces she had assembled over weeks crystallized into a damning portrait of corruption. Outside, the aqua altar had reached its zenith. The canals overflowed, swallowing piazzas and alleys in a rising tide that distorted the familiar into something alien and threatening. The water's relentless advance was a mirror of the dangers closing in on Elena herself. A sudden shiver ran down her spine. She was not alone. Footsteps echoed faintly above the chamber, muffled by layers of stone and water but unmistakably deliberate. Elena's eyes flicked to the narrow stairwell leading upward. The shadows whispered secrets, and the city seemed to hold its breath. Above the surface, Marco Viani stood at the water's edge, the glow of the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson. His figure was tall, imposing an embodiment of the power and menace lurking beneath Venice's veneer of beauty. His eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the flooded streets as he spoke briefly into a phone, his voice low but resolute. "She's too close. The archive must be destroyed. No loose ends." His words were a decree of silence, an order that would set into motion a cascade of events threatening to engulf all who dared uncover the truth. Back in the hidden chamber, Elena's hand trembled as she gathered the final documents. The weight of history pressed down on her, but so too did the urgency of the moment. Each discovery was a step deeper into a labyrinth of shadows and danger. A sudden splash echoed from the canal outside, and the sound of oars cutting through water reached her ears. Luca Bellini's familiar silhouette emerged from the gloom, his gondola bobbing gently against the flooded quay. His weathered face was etched with concern, but his eyes held steady determination. "Elena," he whispered urgently as he helped her aboard. They were closing in. "We have to move now." Together, they slipped through the labyrinthine waterways, the floodwaters swallowing the city in a silent, watery embrace. The buildings loomed overhead like ancient sentinels, their reflections fractured in the churning water. The city was a ghost, beautiful and fragile, hiding secrets as deep and treacherous as the canals themselves. From a balcony above, Isabella Moretti watched the unfolding scene. Her graceful silhouette was framed by ornate stonework, her gaze inscrutable as the wind tugged at her silk gown. The rising waters reflected in her cold eyes, mirroring the tempest of loyalties and fears that churned within her. She was a woman caught between worlds, between family duty and personal ambition, between the past's shadows and the uncertain future. Her silence was as telling as any word, a signal that the coming storm would test even the most carefully guarded alliances. As night deepened, Elena and Luca navigated the darkening canals, the city's heartbeat quickening with the rising tide. Every ripple, every distant echo of footsteps, reminded Elena that the edge of revelation was razor-thin. The truth was within reach, but so too was the abyss. Elena's mind raced with possibilities and fears. Could she protect the archive long enough to bring the conspiracy to light? Or would the waters, like the secrets beneath them, swallow her whole? In the heart of Venice, under the watchful eyes of ghosts and shadows, the battle for truth and survival was about to begin. The Aqua Altar was more than a flood, it was a reckoning. And Elena Rossi stood at its edge, ready to dive into the depths, whatever they might hold. The lantern's glow flickered as Elena carefully aligned the final document with the others. The script was unmistakable, the signature of a forgotten noble, his words a testament to centuries of betrayal and silence. Each page was a thread in a tapestry that, once unraveled, threatened to bring the city's most powerful families to their knees. Luca, Elena whispered, her voice steady despite the storm raging both outside and within her. This is it. This is what they've been trying to hide. Luca nodded grimly, his calloused hand steady on the gondola's oar. They won't stop, Elena. Marco Viani will do anything to keep this buried. The gondola slipped silently through a flooded call, the water reflecting the fractured lights of lanterns and street lamps. The city seemed to hold its breath, each wave a pulse of tension. Suddenly, a shadow moved along the water's edge, too deliberate to be a trick of the light. Elena's heart hammered as she peered into the darkness. Marco, Luca murmured, his voice low. He's here. Elena swallowed hard, the chill of the night mingling with the fire of resolve. There was no turning back. The confrontation was inevitable. As they reached a secluded dock, Elena gathered the documents close. The weight of history and the danger it brought pressed down on her like the rising floodwaters. She was on the edge of revelation, and the city's fate hung in the balance. The Aqua Altar was at its peak. The time for hiding was over. The flooded piazza lay silent beneath a thick blanket of fog, the waters reflecting the ghostly outlines of Venice's ancient palazzi. Elena Rossi moved cautiously, her boots submerged up to the ankles as the Aqua Altar encircled the square like an unpredictable predator. Every step sent ripples across the water's glassy surface, disrupting the eerie stillness that clung to the night. Her breath came out in small plumes, the cold air biting at her skin beneath her soaked jacket. She clutched the fragile bundle of manuscripts tightly beneath her arm, their delicate pages threatening to crumble with every movement. Tonight everything depended on this confrontation. From the shadows of an archway, a tall figure emerged, Marco Viani. His silhouette was sharp and imposing, the dark fabric of his coat clinging to him as if forged from the night itself. His eyes, cold and calculating, held a hint of reluctant respect as he regarded Elena. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice smooth but laced with warning. "Some truths are better left buried beneath the water." Elena squared her shoulders, meeting his gaze without flinching. "The past belongs to everyone, Marco. It's time the city remembered what has been hidden for centuries." Her voice was steady, carrying the weight of conviction born from months of tireless investigation and growing peril. Behind her, Luca Bellini stood watch, his weathered face taut with tension. The gondolier's loyalty had never wavered, even as the city's shadows deepened around them. "You're outnumbered, Elena," Marco continued, stepping closer so that the faint scent of salt and dampness mixed with his cologne. "You don't understand the forces you re-challenging. This isn't just about history. It's about power, survival." Isabella Moretti's delicate footsteps echoed softly as she approached from a side alley, her presence both graceful and unsettling. Draped in an elegant cloak that shimmered faintly in the moonlight, she regarded the scene with a mixture of curiosity and cold calculation. "Power is a fragile illusion," she murmured, her voice barely above the whisper of the water, "and secrets are its currency." Elena's eyes flickered to Isabella, recalling the countless moments of ambiguity and veiled threats that had punctuated their uneasy interactions. "Why are you here?" Elena demanded. "Which side do you stand on?" Isabella smiled faintly, a mask of inscrutability. "I stand where Venice's future demands. But tonight, the past takes center stage." Marco's expression darkened. "Enough theatrics. Elena, hand over the documents. Destroy the archive, and none of this need escalate further." The weight of his words hung heavily in the damp air, but Elena's resolve only hardened. "I will not let fear dictate the city's history. The people deserve to know the truth about your family, about the betrayals that shaped this place." A bitter laugh escaped Marco. "Truth. You mistake exposure for justice. You threaten the very stability that keeps Venice alive." Suddenly, the water around their feet shifted as if responding to the tension. Luca stepped forward, his voice low but unwavering. "Venice isn't just power and secrets. It's resilience, something you've forgotten." At that moment, a shadow moved swiftly along the piazza's edge, a figure once trusted, now revealed as a traitor. The betrayal cut deep, unraveling years of fragile alliances and forcing Elena to recalibrate her understanding of friend and foe. The shock was palpable, the betrayal a sharp blade slicing through the night stillness. Marco seized the moment, advancing with a calculated glare. But Elena, fueled by a fierce determination and the support of Luca and the fragile truth in her hands, met him head-on. Words became weapons, each argument a strike aimed to dismantle centuries of silence and deception. As the confrontation reached its peak, the first pale light of dawn crept over the horizon. The floodwaters began their slow retreat, revealing the worn stones of the piazza beneath. Exhausted, soaked to the bone, and emotionally battered, Elena stood her ground. The archive's fate was sealed not just in the fragile manuscripts she carried, but in the hearts of those who now knew the cost of silence. Marco retreated into the shadows, defeated but unbroken, promising that the battle for Venice's soul was far from over. Isabella lingered a moment longer, her gaze lingering on Elena with a mixture of respect and calculation before disappearing into the awakening city. In the quiet aftermath, Luca placed a steadying hand on Elena's shoulder. "You did what had to be done." Elena nodded, her eyes scanning the empty piazza now bathed in golden light. Though the confrontation had ended, the echoes of betrayal and the weight of history would ripple through Venice like the waters, surrounding them unpredictable, deep, and eternal. Yet beneath the surface of exhaustion and doubt, a fierce hope kindled. The city, like her, was resilient. And as long as there were those willing to confront its shadows, the truth could not be drowned forever. But the question lingered, heavy and unresolved, in unveiling the past. What new storms might be unleashed upon the fragile beauty of Venice? The waters whispered their secrets, and Elena listened, ready for whatever came next.